Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Kudlow. This is the Kudlow Report. President Obama today held a news conference to announce new steps to prevent abuse of the NSA surveillance program.
All these steps are designed to ensure that the American people can trust that our efforts are in line with our interests and our values.
So, here's a question. Did NSA leaker Edward Snowden cause President Obama to make a complete about-face on surveillance policies that he, in fact, defended for many months? It's an important question. Here now on set, my Free Market Friday panel, Ahmed Shihab Eldin, host of HuffPost Live, Republican pollster Jim McLaughlin, and Avik Roy, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Avik, I begin with you because there are a lot of Republicans who didn't like this NSA, but there are a lot of Republicans that did. But the whole party was split over this. Democratic Party was split over this. What happens now? Where does this thing go?
I think you're going to continue to see that same split, right? Because it's the split between the sort of libertarian types on both sides and the conservatives and the national security Democrats on the other side. But what often happens is when there's a Democratic president, the libertarian wing of the Republican Party comes to the fore, and when there's a Republican president, the libertarian wing of the Liberals or the Democratic Party comes to the fore.
Well, that thing almost lost a vote. That almost lost a vote for funding the NSA. Right. Ahmed, let me go to you on this. I mean, I think this is a response to Snowden. I think it's pure, clear, and simple. I agree with what Steve Handelson said. If I were Snowden, wherever the hell I am, I'd have a big smile on my face because it looks to me like Snowden moved Obama. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I do agree, but I don't think he moved him far. I don't think he moved him far enough. I think you're right that this was about saving face. I mean, this was weird, this press conference. You know, he, first of all, made it clear that he doesn't intend to change the program itself. This was more about restoring faith and this notion of distrust, which he blamed Snowden and the government leaks for. But when we talk about distrust, from my perspective, you know, back in March during the congressional hearing, when we saw Senator Ron Wyden, ask James Clapper, the director of intelligence, if in fact there was surveillance, if they were collecting data on Americans, we saw his response was no, sir. When Ron Wyden asked him again about, you know, a ballpark figure as to how many Americans' phone records were being you know, taken or gathered or collected, the defense was, I think, laughable. I think the defense was that that would be an invasion on their privacy. So I think what Obama was actually doing in this situation was just trying to obfuscate, which he did on Jay Leno as well. I mean, you saw him say point blank that they are not spying directly on Americans, which is not true. From my perspective, I don't know what his definition of spying is.
Yeah, he's using the FISA court. I want to ask Avik, before we're going to move on to different parts of this press conference, but I want to ask you, of course, he said that Snowden is not a patriot. But that's really all he said. Yeah. He didn't have any really nasty things to say about Snowden, and I thought that was very interesting.
Obama totally vindicated Edward Snowden today, he's smiling in Russia, and not only that. Think about what future leakers are going to think. Future leakers are going to think, if I leak something just like Edward Snowden did, I can get the president to respond to my agenda. I can get asylum in Russia or whatever other country. Now he set a precedent that there are going to be future Edward Snowdens. That's what I worry about. It's not just going to be this one case. It's going to be tons of other cases like this.
Lower level. I mean, to me, the NSA is going to be furious over this. The other intelligence agencies are going to be. He just, in one fell swoop, late on a Friday afternoon in August, changes the whole game and sets this on a course that they are going to have massive legislative ballots. All right, let's move on. Another topic from the president's presser today, his choice for the next Federal Reserve chairman. Please take a listen.
I think both Larry Summers and Janet Yellen are highly qualified candidates. There are a couple other candidates who are highly qualified as well. I'll make the decision in the fall.
He defended Larry Summers, but then he said, but Summers is not my man. He defended Janet Yellen, but he said, but don't make sure, maybe I'm not going to go with Yellen. He said there are other outstanding people around. Is there other outstanding people, or is it a two-horse race?
I think he's leading from behind again. And I think he doesn't know what he's going to do right here. I think, you know, Wall Street, a lot of folks in the business community, they'd love to see a Larry Summers. But I think, again, he's got real problems with his base. And one of the dirty little secrets.
Gender politics.
Yep,
That's
no
right.
question.
Janet Yellen, gender politics, not monetary politics, not about the dollar, not about the inflation rate, not about anything except gender politics.
He wants to keep the war on women going. He wants to keep running the campaign.
But I'm not so sure about it. I think he wants Summers. I think Summers is his man. He mentioned Susan Rice in that press conference, right? And of course he eventually dropped Susan Rice.
But he didn't do much for her.
He fiercely defended her at first because he wanted her. I think he wants Summers, and that's what all the reporting says out of Washington.
Does that mean? Wait a second. Let's go back to Susan Rice. He didn't really push hard for Susan Rice, so she wasn't Secretary of State. She put her in the NSC, didn't require confirmation. Is that what he's going to do this summer?
He pushed hard for Rice, and then the Senate said basically, we will not confirm her. We will filibuster, and that's when she or he relented. I don't think the Republicans in the Senate will filibuster Summers, right? He's the one guy who makes noises towards a bit more monetary hawkishness compared to everyone else that Obama's considering. So I think from that standpoint, he's probably the most friendly candidate from a Republican
I'll tell you one thing that I sort of liked about this. I mean, he said he wants a dual mandate on unemployment and inflation. I've always had trouble with a dual mandate. But he did mention a sound dollar. He actually used the word sound dollar. That's very close to my argument about king dollar. I mean, that's what the Fed ought to be targeting.
Totally agree.
Is the dollar. And maybe even a commodity price rule. So he was kind of close. He kind of crept up on that. Somebody's done some pretty good briefing. But we don't know who it's going to be.